Welcome. The federal government should be in operation and not shut down because of a budget dispute. The shutting down of the federal government over the credit limit or simply because one party wants to use the event as an ode to the radical opposition is pointless. There needs to be a better approach. In the past, there was always some moment where clearer minds prevailed and both sides came to an agreement or at least some form of an extension to buy them some more time. Both Republicans and Democrats knew that shutting down the government was not ideal. We can accept political bickering to some degree, but when it starts getting in the way of daily life, then it annoys the average American. Most people do not really follow politics or the news coverage. But when their benefits are paused, their ability to get permits for their jobs are on hold, and people close to them furloughed, then they wake up. Many times they are not fully aware of the facts, evidence, and data of the events, just the rhetoric that the media may advance, as news personalities try to shape how the public should view these political events. Sometimes critical details are left out. And people may take sides based on partial truths. In this shutdown, the Democratic Party wants to make it seem like they forged the path to this shutdown because they were protecting healthcare in America. An attempt to appear noble, but not entirely true. On the other hand, Republicans are taking the position that they are willing to discuss programs after the government reopens, but will not permit illegals to access the programs through downstream manipulations. If the healthcare subsidies were of great importance to the Democrats, then why did they not extend them in 2022, when they had the full power of the federal government? They could have made them permanent to a degree and made their opposition have to act to repeal them. That would have been the smart political approach. But they did not, reportedly because of the price tag and political futures of some of the members. So they put their own self-interests above the interests of the American people, if they truly felt these programs were helpful. But not helpful to campaign on, I guess. Republicans are highlighting the extent to which these programs have simply shifted federal dollars to fund programs for illegal immigrants rather than American citizens who should be the exclusive beneficiaries. Democrats are denying it, but the evidence is clear that states are using these funds on illegal immigrants. As we have seen all too recently, many programs put in place are actually diverting money from where the programs prescribe the federal dollars to go to places the American taxpayers have no knowledge of and would not approve of if they knew. Democrats are losing appeal across the electorate, as Republicans are gaining support beyond the right and conservatives. In response, Dems are doubling down on their progressive foundation to the detriment of the broadest population of Americans. While Americans have legitimate issues with both parties, Democrats have lost a great deal of credibility and the continued political theater will not help their cause. There is no reason to believe a politician on face value. Even less to believe a side that is coming out of one of the biggest misinformation moments in American history.
I believe that our economic history has shown that the most sustainable approach to elevating the general public is through measures that either empower people to make choices that fit their needs or obtain customized solutions that address their individual situations. Does it make sense that the public policy of our federal government is held hostage because of a program that was supposed to make healthcare more affordable? But the industry will simply raise its premiums unless the federal government does not divert taxpayer dollars to them. The economic reality is that even a bad program has people that rely on it for their daily functions. And while we can debate, while the debate is really over, the fact is the Obamacare program did not lead to greater affordability nor did it improve healthcare. We can discuss the predictable failures of Obamacare that came to fruition, but there are people in actual need who are rightfully benefiting by having their personal costs lowered by the subsidies. So these are the people that we need to make sure that we help and protect them first and foremost. At the same time, we rightfully should stop the grifters and those who are not supposed to access programs from diverting funds and increasing costs to the American taxpayers, because at the end of the day, every dollar spent on waste, fraud, and abuse is paid for by those of us who work and pay taxes. As I suggested before, I think Republicans should put forth a stance that extensions for qualified people in income brackets that are deemed in poverty and working poor will be protected, and put in place bans on states from using this federal funding on non-legal residents deemed by federal law. Have the programs narrowed to solely those who are truly entitled to receive this benefit, and states should not be allowed to circumvent federal laws with state laws that are technically unconstitutional. Only the federal government has the power to determine citizenship. I do think that we should be able to debate the issues of healthcare without the construct that we must retain in full a program that clearly failed and has made healthcare much worse than if nothing was done at all. If the Obama administration simply helped to build back the actual middle class and shovel-ready jobs, the supposed health crisis would have naturally subsided. This is not the issue to stop the work of the federal government, simply because the party that had control to extend it in 2022 now needs the issue to be a crutch to rally its depleting and heavily progressive base. I am not surprised to see that the Republican Party is seeing a bit of a revival across the nation in terms of registrations and support. The party overall has shifted to align with the broadest interest of the American public. Polling shows that the public is generally getting the public policy promised and expected. There is an overall increase in how the public views the direction of our nation and what the future will look like if the change in policy takes full effect. The Republicans are in a position where they really do not have a credible opposing agenda. Democrats are weak on the free speech issue, as they have been exposed by coercing private companies to silence, deplatform, and harass anyone opposing their views. They are weak on the economic front as they are responsible for the greatest increase in cost to the American consumer, which is mitigating their narratives on the Trump tariffs that have yet to impact the economy. They really do not have a leg to stand on the issue of lawfare and public safety, as their policies have kept criminals on the streets based on demographics, and they have used law enforcement to punish political opponents for crimes that are not real. As expected, their messages are not resonating with the American public, because the party has not really accounted for the recent and obvious scandals surrounding party leaders, and their own people are creating more distrust with their tell-all books. The shutdown seems to be the political stunt that they hope will shift the narrative without them changing their actual positions or policies. They are not moving closer to the American people, but continue to use the most vulnerable in society as political pawns to hide behind. I think the Republicans showing willingness to discuss the subsidies as a good step forward. They have made it clear there is a willingness to negotiate, but the government should be in operation during the negotiations. I do think that the funny but petulant memeing of the Democrats is not helping. Republicans should be showing that this shutdown is purely political, which is pretty clear when you have one side making apocalyptic claims about healthcare and the other side saying a more reasoned stance that the government should be reopened and then negotiations will resume. The Democrat brand has been hit hard with the revelations about Biden and who truly knew, how they used the federal government as their political slush fund, the negative effects of the policies they enacted, and the dishonesty they continue to show. So, this is the issue they think will change their perception. Desperation is never a good political policy. A big thank you to all of you in the audience. Your viewership is appreciated and valued. Please follow the Christopher Peter Review on social media and continue to visit www.crcreview.com for new episodes of the Christopher Peter Podcast and the CRC. Thank you once again. Until next time.